Let's cross to Stein van Oosteren, speaker and the author of Why Not the Bicycle. Thank you for speaking with us here on France 24.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
The last time you and I spoke together, it was just before the pandemic and just before this explosion we saw in the French capital of not only ride-sharing e-scooters, but also the number of bike lanes. First of all, your reaction to this referendum and to the decision to ban the ride-sharing e-scooters?
I think there's a good side and a bad side. The bad side is that the scooters, they had an unfair trial because they are tried for being messy, for wrong behavior, being too on a scooter, for example, being even polluting. And I think that those are not the problems. You can deal with that. But I think there are other reasons that make me happy with this result, because you're passive on a scooter, so you don't move. And do we really want our youth especially to be passive and to no longer move around, to be active? It is dangerous. Studies show that it's dangerous. It's 4 to 5 times more dangerous than being on a bicycle. And it's because of the way they're conceived with the small wheels that it's difficult to stay straight. And also you cannot indicate your direction. There are little lights on it that indicate the direction, but they're too small to be seen. And it's absolutely necessary to be predictable when you're on heavy streets like Paris.
And the critics are saying I have a lot of problems. First off, with the way that the a referendum was organized, saying there was no campaign, people didn't even know there was a vote in a lot of cases. Secondly, that it's only the people from Paris who got to vote, not the ones from the suburbs who also used them. And the third criticism leveled was that this affects the ride-sharing ones, but people who own e-scooters, and the faster ones are the ones that are privately owned, they're still going to be able to ride around.
Yeah, regarding the debate, I agree there could have been more debate. And I think that actually one of the outcomes of this, it shows that mobility needs debate, because the city is in fully transition, and mobility is one way to operate that. The second argument about that it's only Paris, yeah, that's the way it works. Paris is the boss over Paris and can make these kinds of decisions for Paris. That's actually one of the difficulties when you want to make a good mobility system, because mobility goes over borders, but that's what we have to deal with. Maybe we'll
and
have
in the case of Paris, you're dealing with, I guess, what's a little bit of an anomaly when it comes to major capitals, in that the city itself is some 2.5 million residents, whereas the greater Paris area is closer to 11 million. 12 million,
yeah. So it's bigger than Belgium, for example, where it was this weekend. It's a country, so it is difficult. But these decisions now they start in Paris, and so we're going to have to deal with it. And with the private scooters, yes, indeed. But I don't think that many people will now start buying private scooters, because it's difficult. You have to deal with it yourself. They're of a lesser quality, because a good scooter is expensive, and as opposed to what people say, a good scooter is 700, 800, 1,000 euros to really be sure that you can use it for a long time. So I think people are going to switch to walking, public transportation, the bicycles. They're going to see that you can do the same thing with a bicycle, which you did before on a scooter. And I think that's the good thing. We're going to be active in the streets of Paris. We're going to have this city of people moving and not being transported around like a bag of potatoes, like in the film E-Wally, where you actually can see what this can lead to.
Is it always the case, though? A lot of these electric bikes, you see people, they don't even need to pedal, and they go very fast.
Yes, they do need to pedal. If they do not pedal, then they're illegal. Then they're not really bikes. It is true that you have these small balance bikes, as they call them, the Dresienne, which are like a scooter with a little saddle on it. And unfortunately, they were authorized, but I hope there are not going to be very many in the future, because we're going to have the same problem again.
And right now, when you look at the number of accidents that have taken place with the e-scooters, some are saying it's just a learning curve, just like it's been a learning curve with bicycles. The number of fatalities has gone up, but that's also incremental since you've had a lot more bicycle users?
There's a physical reason for it. Really, why it is more dangerous. It's not you cannot go around it. When with a small wheel like this, you see a little hole in the road, you're doomed to fall. With a bicycle, that's not why the numbers they show it. For example, a study that was just done by 6T, which is a bureau who did that for the city of Paris. They found that Vélib', which are the other bicycle system, users have two times more accidents than scooter users, but they're wounded less than scooter users. That shows how extremely vulnerable people on e-scooters are, and that shows what we already know, that they're dangerous for the users themselves.
Now, Stein, when you came on 3 years ago, you were arguing for bike lanes throughout the Paris area. It seems as though your wish is starting to come true. There's a big bike lane construction that's going on in the suburbs.
Yes, COVID has totally changed the way we deal with bicycle mobility, because before the COVID crisis, we had to fight for one little piece of bicycle lane, and that's not how you set up mobility, because it needs continuity. And during the COVID crisis, the government had to do something because France would become mobile on the 11th of May. So they created a whole network, not only in Paris, but also in the greater Paris around it, with 170 kilometers in one go for the bicycle. So in 10 days, the authorities did more for the bicycle than they would do in 10 years normally. And that got people to buy electric bikes, to change their behavior in a sustainable way. And that created this total bicycle culture that's now there. I'm even filming this constantly in the suburbs, where you see many, many people. There are already traffic jams, even in the suburbs now. And I think that we're heading for the next bicycle revolutions with the Olympic Games coming up.
I was going to ask you about the Olympics because among the big infrastructure projects are the building of new underground rail lines. Some of them won't be ready in time. What will mobility look like when the world comes to Paris in July of next year?
It'll be 100% cycle, because as you said, indeed, the metro lines are not going to be ready. So the bicycle, again, is going to save us. The bicycle is always, comes up when there's a crisis. And actually, the Olympic Games are like any mega event. It's a logistic crisis that you have to deal with 600,000 people every day moving around the capital. So what Paris is planning on doing is to still beef up public transportation with buses, for example. Of course, pedestrianize zones, make the how do you call them, the sidewalks bigger, and create new, what they call Olympic lanes, Olympistes. And that is going to be a game changer, because by connecting Olympic sites with bicycle lanes, people are now coming to Paris not only to watch the Olympic Games and not only to watch the Eiffel Tower, but also to experience Paris on the Olympic lanes. So that's going to be a unique experience.
Paris soon like Amsterdam?
Yes, it's because of the density there. That's also why there's so many people already on bicycles in the street of Paris, because it's 4 times as dense as Amsterdam. So yes, it already looks like Amsterdam, and it's going to be even, worse, let's say, or better in a few years from now.
Stein van Oosteren, many thanks for joining us here on France 24.